Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks to all the Team Eyeo for inviting me, and very glad to be in Minneapolis today. So I'm a programmer, and more recently I've started calling myself also designer. And I lived in Hong Kong for 4 years, three and a half years. And today I'm going to talk about social media in China, and more particularly Sina Weibo. So I think first of all, I have to make an intro, classic intro on what social media is. So in China, there's no Facebook, there's no Twitter. Those are blocked, and Chinese companies have created parallel sites to do all those things. And you've got these huge companies running these services. QQ, for instance, started as a clone of ICQ and became this huge company. I don't know the numbers, but I think it's one of the biggest in the world. And the one I'm particularly interested in is Sina Weibo. So Sina is a huge company itself. It's got blogs, it's got a news portal. It's been there for more than 10 years. And they created this clone of Twitter in 2009. It's not so much a clone, actually. I've got a demo of. I hope it's gonna run. All right. Yeah. So you see, it's got some Twitter elements, but it's also got chat. It's got integrated games with it, and a whole ecosystem. So yeah, this is Sina Weibo. And I was working at the University of Hong Kong from 2010 to 2012, and we developed this visualization, this tool where you could see what's happening on Sina Weibo in real time with data feeding in. So this is something we designed in 2011. But before this, there was a lot of work, and I want to show that. So yeah, first of all, like what do people say about Weibo Scope? They see it, and obviously it's a visual version of Weibo trending topics. But also some people focus on the part where it also allows to find deleted posts. And then finally, it's a great tool for just finding stories and finding interesting stuff happening in China. Yeah. So before I continue, I have to take some step back. Then, where do I come from? I'm from Montreal, born and raised there. And 4 years ago, I moved to Hong Kong. And when I was in Quebec growing up, I followed media the traditional way, so through newspapers, through TV. We only had one TV channel that had a permanent China correspondent, and otherwise there were newspapers that we could get that had translations of articles published in Chinese and Hong Kong media. And then when blogs came, I started following what was going on in China through those blogs. They're called bridge blogs, and bridge blogs are blogs where there are translations of articles from different Chinese media, or sometimes interpretation of those articles. And one of them that really marked me or influenced me a lot is East South West North blog, and it's a blog with a lot of text. It's very dense, and there's and this is run by one guy, Roland Sung. And Roland Sung is from Hong Kong, but he lived in the U.S. for many decades. And he came back to Hong Kong in 2003 and started this blog, where he would translate articles and talk about them sometimes. He's a media researcher, so that's actually part. I mean, it's his day job to read a lot of stuff. So he pours through so much. and one of the things that Roland was telling me in an interview was that he thought that what was in Chinese media was not often represented in English in the international media, what Chinese people are. So his website is there to give to talk about what Chinese people are really saying. For instance, he would have these topics, organize these articles by topic. So for instance, this is in 2008 when there was an incident where the little girl who sang some song was not actually the girl who sang it on the left. So he puts different articles in juxtaposition. This is from New York Times, but he also has editorials from Ming Pao, a newspaper in Hong Kong, and also like what netizens would say. And other time it's lighter topics. So this is like a photo that was posted on some official website, and obviously a very, very bad Photoshop job. So netizens were really, really on a roll that week. They did a bunch of. Yeah. So it gives you the lighter side of what's happening on the internet in China. But today, mostly I follow through Twitter, of course, and through Chinese journalists, foreign journalists in China, and friends and that kind of people. And in 2009, I went to Hong Kong. I moved to Hong Kong, and I started working at the Journalism and Media Studies Center at the University of Hong Kong. And I was hired as a developer, and I started doing research there, working on research. So before continuing, I need to talk about people I work with, colleagues. On the left is King Hua Fu, and he was my boss for a year and a half at JMSC, and we worked together on these projects on social media in China. And he even learned programming. He's actually an interesting background. He's trained in engineering and became a professional journalist before going to academia. And in the middle is David Banerski. He runs a website for our center called China Media Project. He's American, and he's fluent in Chinese. So his work is to talk about comment media in China. How do they cover news? And I learned a lot from him. Like I didn't know anything what was going on in media in China. We also shared an office, and I think that was like he's a great inspiration in the work I've done. And we throw ideas to each other, and that's a really great person. And then Professor Ying Chan, she's the founder and director of the JMSC. She's the lady with the big ideas, and I think she has this vision of the future of journalism and tries to bring it to Hong Kong, getting people from different backgrounds and putting them together to work at the JMSC. And how did our projects, social media projects, start? We were working on this project on Hong Kong cyberspace, and this is how we got the funding to start. And of course, at the beginning, we were interested in blogs and forums, very popular in Hong Kong, and also Twitter and Facebook, because that was the obvious social media out there in 2010 in Hong Kong. But we also stumbled upon Sina Weibo along the way, and that was only a year into Sina Weibo existing. And we found they have an API, and then at that point we were getting data, downloading data from Twitter through the API, and thought we could probably do the same thing with Sina Weibo. So is it actually easy to get a Sina Weibo API key? Well, actually, yeah. We sign in with our real name, the purpose of our project, studying China, and looking at all those things, and got it. And the API looks pretty much like the Twitter API, except for certain particularities. You can, on Sina, know exactly the location of a person is codified. And also there's gender and all sorts of like this kind of information that can be useful for research. And of course, we put it in we wrote scripts in Python and put it in a database and did different experiments with it. So we had all these API calls, and we had to ration them. And our strategy was to get all the most popular users and get all their timeline, all the posts from their timelines. So what does get all the most popular user mean? On Twitter, there's no such function where you could just get a list of all the most popular users. You could like get from a third-party site, but on Sina, actually, there's a search function where you could just get lists of the most, I don't know, 500 most followed people in every region in China. So that's what we did, and we aggregated those users and created these huge lists of tens of thousands of users that have like a threshold of, I don't know, 1,000 and more followers. And we also kept adding users as we went, as we had posts and looked at relationships using friendship functions. And then we also, so we instead of using the Stream API, the Stream API is like everything that gets published on a social media website. We use timelines. So we had this bag of users, and we went and got all their timelines, their latest 200 or so posts. So you have certain control on the user sample, and then we did that we sampled every couple of, once a day or every couple of days, depending of how many posts they made. And then, yeah, I just wanted to show the progression in the number of posts that we gathered. And in average, we had 500,000 Weibos in the database. So that's it for the data. I think I just wanted to showcase that because it's so important. That's the backbone of the project, and we've been using the same system since the beginning. And at the beginning, we create these listing visualizations. So this is the China meme machine, and we leverage this particularity of Weibo compared with Twitter. When you retweet something on Twitter, you can rewrite the post and put your own comment, and then it kind of you lose track of the original poster. And also, like, the limitation of 140 characters makes it that people don't really write about on the same post. But on Weibo, when people create posts, you can retweet them and put your comment on top. So the original post is always kept. So you have these, it's very common in Weibo to have these posts with like 50,000, 100,000 reposts. And what we did was that we only looked at those users that are important, that we think are meaningful, that they have a lot of followers, and created listing this way. But we could have have different types of user. Like you could select like only designers, I don't know, or journalists, and make your own listing. Another particularity, emoticons. So emoticons are integrated in the system in Sina Weibo. You can select from these, and they appear in text as they appear in the Weibo as text, and you can actually count them. So here I did a simple graphic for the number of times that people would talk about being sick in a day, and and normalized it. So as you go into winter, it's more people are sick. And show that. And also, we found it was interesting to look at the repost text. So we took also all the reposts that people would make and what the comment that they had, and then counted the number of emoticons contained in those. And oftentimes you would find that interesting news, stuff that's perhaps newsworthy, have these angry icons or these like sad icon. But most importantly, this kind of those listing that we had were useful for colleagues. So for China Media Project, for instance, we were able to find this news on Weibo before even, I think, domestic news about a student who died on a train, and the train authority just said he committed suicide, but his parents didn't believe that and posted a letter on the internet. And actually that post that was trending during that time is still there. It's and during that day there was a lot of posts related to that, and my colleague wrote an article, and Guardian picked it up a few weeks later. Yeah, I'm not gonna show this, but we also have email reports. We realized that people really like having stuff in their emails, and so created an email report based on what we previously saw. And then in April 2011, we created a search tool for the database that we had. So that was the start of the more visual work, and you could output stuff in CSV or text format, but also there was a version where only the images would appear, and that's a bit where things started. I mean, I'm not fluent in Chinese, and I want to know, what's going on in a glance. And with this, it's pretty easy to do. And of course, this is inspiration. And this is how we got to this, the Weibo scope, what it looks like today. And there's also a search function on Weibo scope that's not accessible. But I'll tweet the address where actually you could. Oh yeah, I can't type Chinese on this. Yeah, unfortunately I can't show you the. But it's pretty cool. Like if you type in Xi Jinping, the president of China, you would see so many posts this week with Obama, and I mean you could do this also using the official site. You could go on the site, but they would return the results as a listing. So the Weibo scope search allows you to get this wall of image and parse through all the images. And even people who spoke Chinese, I spoke with some journalists covering China, and they're fluent in Chinese, but they really like this kind of tool because they can see, you have like repetitions of images, but then you see the outlier very easily, and then you click on it and get more information on it. So, I mean, this is not exactly it, but if you click on a post, you see all the details on the post. And I mean, I want to know what's being said there. Talk about the First Lady of China. And then came our, I think that's like the killer feature, that's what got people noticing what we were doing in Hong Kong, finding deleted posts. So is it easy to find deleted posts? Well, not so easy, but yeah, actually it's feasible. And the strategy is actually, the idea is very, very simple, is that when we get a copy of the timeline, we also we keep that on the side, and then the next time we get another copy of the timeline, we compare and then find that if there's a post missing, then that must be deleted. And while we were doing this, we saw that posts that were deleted had different messages when you queried the API. So either it would say target Weibo does not exist, or it would say permission denied. And when we started looking at what kind of posts fit in those two buckets, the second one, the first one tended to be stuff that gets deleted anyways, nudity or spam. But the permission denied one contained a lot of those more politically sensitive posts. And that was where our researchers would get, and journalists using our tools would get the most interesting stuff to write about. And we actually highlighted that like more than 2 years ago, and Sina still hasn't patched this kind of strange thing. So we have this database of deleted posts. We mark all those posts that we know are deleted. And then the first reflex was to create a listing. So you have this listing that shows only the last 500, but there's a way to get all of them also, of posts. And if you're interested in one, I don't know what this is. Free Bo Xilai. Okay, he's a disgraced politician in China. So you could look at each of those, and these are all public pages. People can go and have their own impression of what censorship is.
So the link stays active, or do you guys collect them?
The links, yeah, actually, like those are photos. Those are photos hosted on Sina, and they stay active. But those pages that I click on, those are our own pages. So that's our data that we keep from, because they have a strange permalink system that you can't head back to the actual page. And of course, I mean, there's not everyone will be interested to go and see all the deleted posts. So you need people to interpret what these posts mean. What do they mean in the context of China? So our colleagues would go and write articles about those posts and explain them, put them in context. And so later on, earlier this year actually, I was interested to try things out with the raw data, and then I created this visualization with D3, where you, instead of showing posts in a listing with text, each of them are represented here as a dot. So the x-axis is the constant time, and y-axis is every original post. So everything that follows so a black dot is an original post, and then all the gray posts are people retweeting. So I mean, it's a bit conceptual, but I think it's useful for seeing like estimate how long a post stays alive for people to repost it. And it also shows how the rate of deleting is. So I don't have it preloaded, but if we keep loading new data, actually on June 4th, the anniversary of the Tiananmen massacre, there was a lot of posts. You could actually see the line was so like much more vertical. Like here it is. Like this is like all of June 4th, and as before it just like evens back. And there's this fantastic tool that our students have built over the data. They were 3 IT professionals who became students in the Master of Journalism program. And this class was actually taught by Jonathan Stray, based in New York. And so these 3 guys created a tool that, so Laura mentioned in her talk earlier, these image text images, images with Chinese like to have, actually I'll open a new window. Oh, here it is. So they like to add these images with text in it, just for a different reason. They're very volatile, or they want to actually hide from machines that would delete that. So our students wrote these programs with text recognition programs, OCR programs, Tesseract, and integrated it so that it would recognize the text, and it's pretty good. I'm really amazed by what it does. This is a front end tool, but you can imagine if we have infinite computing power, we could decipher all of those text images with the same tools. And so, did I learn anything living in China, living in Hong Kong? I think first of all, that's what our big boss always said at the JMSC is get out of your comfort zone. She tells our students graduating from the master's program, go to places, different places, go to Burma, go to, get out there and learn. And I stayed in Hong Kong most of the time, but in terms of technology, though, I think I've been faced with problems and then had to try all these new technologies that I didn't know before and integrate them into solutions. And also multidisciplinarity within yourself, but also with people working around you. While I was in Hong Kong, I also did a master's in design, interaction design, and learned a lot from my professors and my classmates and the way that they worked. I didn't know at all like how designers worked, all the processes involved in their work, and I really benefited from that. And also avoid bandwagons. And I think the way to this is actually something that I got from Eyeo from the Media Lab came to talk. That's what he says for the Media Lab. And for that, I think you need to talk to people who are involved in this kind of work. And so if you're interested in China, go speak to specialists in China, in journalists working in China, and learn from what they have to say, and you'll find the next innovation. And specifically talking about China, I think there's a lot of space. There's if something hasn't been done yet, I think there's so many ideas that you can get chatting with people who are living in those conditions of a not so free internet. So for instance, like I was chatting with my ex-colleague, and he was talking about like how on Weibo when you say you post something sensitive, and you might be able to see it on your timeline, but other people looking at your post won't see it. So you're kind of like confounded into, oops. It's like, what happened? This kind of follows me, but anyways. Yeah, so like, why don't we build a tool? Yeah, I'll just continue because these are just images to talk over. Oh, there you go. Why don't you build a tool, I don't know, like a Chrome extension that would let you see immediately what another user that you know is seeing on your timeline? Very simple idea, hasn't been done, I think. And finally, don't let constraints of the system stop you. The rules of the internet apply still in China, where even if stuff gets, there's a lot of constraints. And I think like if you have an idea and you have you know about the technology, I think today, you can go out and rent out servers on Amazon so easily. Why not like we always had this. My colleagues before I came even like they had why don't we cache articles published on Chinese website before they get deleted, and then at least, and then you have a copy of it, and then you compare as censorship does its job. And today with the technology, I think it's totally possible. But there's opportunity out there for these kind of projects. So there it is.